evening and welcome to our March 6, 2025 Bedford Board of Education work session. I want to welcome everyone here. We are going to have roll call.
Ms. Boynton? Here. Ms. Turner-Birch? Mr. Akins?
Here.
Ms. Macklin?
Here.
Ms. Carter?
Here. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to have our Pledge of Allegiance. So if we can stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I love it. All righty. Next on our agenda is our 2.01. That is our knowledge of goals, our one plan goals. Please read those at your leisure. Next, we have Section 3, Awards, Presentations, and Communications. 3.01, Trusted Sec Presentation, Founder and CEO David Kennedy. Hello. Good evening. Oh, well, we're going to have Carla introduce you.
But you still get to stand up for me. Good evening, President Carter. Make sure it's turned on. I don't think the mic's turned on. Yep, okay. Good evening, President Carter, Vice President Macklin, Board, Dr. Johnson, and Treasurer Friedrich. I would like to take a few minutes to introduce to you a very charitable man. Mr. David Kennedy founded Binary Defense and Trusted Sec and is considered an industry leader in cybersecurity. As the former Chief Security Officer of Diebold Incorporated, he led large global cybersecurity teams and built a world-class security organization. Recognized as a top professional, David has testified before Congress, continuously shapes cybersecurity policy, and provides expert analysis on national news outlets. When he's not busy managing his companies or sharing his expertise on national news, you'll find him pursuing his passions for health, gaming, and fostering the growth of the InfoSec community. David's life's mission is to help others and make the world a safer place in cybersecurity, which drives him daily. But what makes him even more special to Bedford is that Mr. Kennedy graduated from Bedford in 2000. He has financially sponsored the Bedford esports team and our cybersecurity pathway curriculum. I just want to take this time, Mr. Kennedy, to thank you for always supporting Bedford, our students, our career tech pathways. We totally appreciate you, and that's why we would like to honor you this evening. You want to come forward? You can talk a little bit about the partnership.
Sure. Absolutely. Evening, everybody. Thanks so much for having me in for the award today to be recognized. Wasn't expecting an award, but really do appreciate it. My mission, Bedford has a very special place in my heart from coming from Bedford and graduating. And I was in the military for 5 years, deployed a couple times in Iraq for intelligence-related missions, and never thought I'd build a career in cybersecurity. And it was important for me to look at the next generation of cybersecurity professionals, and we're better to start here at Bedford. And since then, we've also been working with a number of other schools getting cybersecurity curriculum and programs in, but Bedford's definitely number one. But working with Darren and getting this program going, we're working on a number of different opportunities for these kids and different pathways, whether they decide to go to college and learn cybersecurity or not, and don't go to college and do training programs at Trusted Sec. Our headquarters is in Fair Lawn, Ohio. It's a state-of-the-art cybersecurity facility. We do work with some of the largest companies in the world, believe it or not. If anybody here is using a phone, we probably do work for that company. If we do work for a car manufacturer, so the next generation of cars, we tear them apart and figure out how to hack into them. We physically break into companies where we, get to lockpick doors and break into buildings and things like that legally. I've been arrested twice. Got let go because we're allowed to do it. But it's a fun job. It's a exciting job. And being in this position to be able to help these kids and see their faces when they start to learn things and get to hack into computer systems. Again, all legally. It's one of those things that puts a smile on your face, and it's an amazing industry, a lot of career growth opportunities. It's one of the fastest growing industries in the world right now, And if you look at what's happening with technology and artificial intelligence and everything else that's going on right there, that career path is going to be there for quite a long time. And what better place to do it than Bedford High School? And so with our partnerships, we have the kids come to Bedford. We send folks out here as well to help train. The training program is phenomenal for these kids to learn cybersecurity starting in 10th grade all the way to being seniors. And it's not only the technical skills, we teach soft skills as well, how to communicate and present and speak technical terms to folks that may not be as technical. And so it's a really great program. It's well-rounded, and it's just getting started. We have a lot of work to do and a lot more to build for these kids here. And it's a pleasure to be a part of it. So thank you all so much. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's always good to have alumni come back and do great things within the district. So thank you so much for bringing your expertise here and definitely being able to give back and showing the education that you got and how well it worked and how you're able to pass that on. Dr. Johnson?
I'll let you guys finish
Anybody
first.
else?
Want to just also thank you for just graduating from the school, but also coming back, making sure that our students of today still get those new 2025 skills that are needed. It's very beneficial, and it helps to set them on the right path, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming back. When you were here, I was here as a security guard.
Oh, boy.
So I remember you.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry for all the detentions.
I'm not going to tell any of your stories, I promise. But it's good to see you come back, and, we really need something like this. So we know that Bedford works, and we know Bedford have a great graduating class. So I'll see you at your next class reunion, I promise.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. One of the things that I think says a lot about an individual is not just what we see when they're in our presence in that title, but what people see when they're not looking. So you may not realize this, Mr. Kennedy, but I see you a lot at the Cavs games.
Yes, you are.
And one of the things that I noticed you do that made a family's day is that you gave up your seats. And you walked away, and you should have seen the look on their faces, because it's probably something that they might have never been able to do. So I just want you to know that that's the character of a Bearcat to heart, and I just truly want to thank you. One of the reasons why we don't physically have something here to give to you today is because it's something that we're recommending to come. Carla talked about the partnership with the program, but basically you've done everything from the computers to the software to the curriculum. You've permitted our students to come out to your company. So it's kind of been everything. And he has shared with Dr. Threet and I is that this is a dedication and commitment. So we will be recommending, I know that there was kind of somewhat of a ceremony in terms of naming the room after you, but we would like to permanently do that in the new facility. They even talked about the hallway, calling it Trusted Sec Way. So I just want to tell you that we didn't physically have something for you, but we would like to incorporate that in the new facility. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. And again, thank you for all that you have done, you still do. And again, like she said, the things that are not always stated, the small things that are done are always the biggest things that, make a difference. So thank you for everything. All right, next is 3.02, our building presentation. Central Primary, that's gonna be a tough one to follow, but I know y'all can do it. We have presentation by Jennifer Spite and Angelique Lipford.
It could be spite like heights or spate like weight. Either way, it works. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings to the board. My name is Jennifer Spate. I am the principal of Central Primary School.
My name is Mrs. LaFleur. I am the Dean of Academic Achievement. Thank you for having us on tonight.
we're going to kick things off, of course, with our goals. As you guys know, every single school in the district has goals that align with our district's one plan goals. At Central, we are focusing on improving our Tier 1 category by 30% in both reading and in math, and improving our Tier 1 category for our social emotional learning by 10%, and we're using the DESA or the DECA for our preschool friends to measure that information.
And since we are a primary school building, we love to highlight and celebrate everyone's efforts, from our teachers to our students. And each month we celebrate our teachers by honoring someone who has contributed positively to our environment, helping our students to grow, who's all hands on deck, everything that is needed in someone who would love to see our students succeed. We call them the Central Community Champion, and our teachers nominate someone for that. We also have our Students of the Month. These are students who are showing role behavior and who are making progress in the classroom, whether it is academically or behaviorally, and those students have the opportunity to be shouted out on our announcements, to also have a shout out on social media. You have some pictures here of students who have their certificates. They're very excited about that, as well as to have special seating during our lunchtime for acknowledgement of all of their efforts, because we want to see them continue on the up and up. We also have newly implemented our Lunch and Learn, which is in collaboration with our high school students, for mentoring opportunities for our babies, so that we can have some more students that have the opportunity to be Students of the Month.
So getting into what we teach, we do 120 minutes of structured English language arts time. Our curriculum is in Vision, and we use the iReady pathway for personalized learning. For math, it's 75 minutes of structured time. Our curriculum is in Vision Math, and then we are using the iReady pathways as well for personalized learning in that area. Social studies and science is 30 minutes, and our curriculum for that is SAVAS. And lastly, we have electives. Our electives will include art, music, PE twice a week, and technology, as well as our social emotional learning interventionist, who pushes in to provide some character-based lessons, conflict mediation lessons, things of that nature, and some lessons from our school counselor about like careers and things of that nature. When we get into how we teach, this year, Mrs. Lipford and I have identified a couple of focal points. One of the things that we have spent a lot of time and energy on has been engagement. And so really trying to increase the rigor of our classroom, but also the engagement of our students, including some chants and cheers, some ways to spark some quick joy in the classroom. We know that sometimes things are difficult. We want the babies to keep going. And so how do we celebrate that? We've been focusing on some culturally responsive practices like call and response, some turn and talks, just trying to get the kids to kind of engage and have those collaborative conversations with their peers. Some songs and some music, some rhythm and repetition. Everyone in the audience has probably asked a child why they know all the lyrics to a song but not something else, so we are trying to embed that in the classroom. We are also really trying to build a culture that normalizes mistakes. So what do we do when we make a mistake? It doesn't mean we quit. What do we do next? And so we're normalizing it as the adults by saying, hey, I struggled with this, but also just kind of encouraging our kids to push through and embedding that in our curriculum. We've been focusing on some more formative check-ins, so whether it's thumbs up, thumbs down, if you understand what we're doing right now, move to this side of the room. If you're unclear, move here. Just trying to give kids a way to quickly check in and hold them accountable for their learning, see where they are so we can measure where they are, and then we can push to the next level. Our instructional techniques that we've been focused on most, scaffolding is a carryover from the previous year. Classroom discussion, which we've all been in classrooms, we know what that kind of looks like. For some of our more reluctant friends, we're providing some sentence stems, so let's start you off. How do you do that? Success criteria, which is basically a staff member saying, by the end of this lesson, you should know 3 different ways to make 10. And so those types of things, so kids know what the expectation is, and then therefore they can achieve it. And then direct instruction, of course, with some focus on teacher clarity. So how clear can we be? How do we make it plain for our kids so they can achieve that? For report cards results, sorry, that's also me. For report card results, Central Primary School achieved 3 stars overall. We got 5 stars for gap closing last year, which is the highest that you can get. So yes, they did great with that one. We have an improved rating for attendance from our prior year, and in the categories that we were able to be measured in, we achieved 10 out of 15 stars, including 2 perfect scores. So we had a perfect score in our scoreable areas, which were chronic absenteeism. So how many of our kids can we get to school on time? Every day is the BCSD way. They are sick of me saying it, but that's where we are. And so we were able to get 5 out of 5 stars in that category and 5 out of 5 stars for our ELL kids, our English language learner students. For gifted kids, we are making progress with our gifted friends, but our threshold number is 15. We have 9 currently identified students, and so once we hit that number, I'm expecting to see that shift as well. Our early literacy component has been our focus this year. So when we are talking about early literacy, we are demonstrating progress with the state through getting our kids off of what we call a RIMP. A RIMP is a Reading Improvement and Monitoring Plan. And essentially what happens with that is if we have a child who has not hit their academic score that they need to show that they are proficient per the state, it's some extra scaffolds we put in place so that way they can be successful. Last year, we had 17% of our students get off of the RIMP. We are obviously shooting for a higher number this year. We've been very intentional about the way that we were doing that, and so part of that has been the way that we are setting goals with our teams of teachers and our students. All of the Bedford schools have intervention time, what I need time, and so for us, we've been pulling some targeted research-based interventions from our DIBBLES platform, and then strategically placing personnel. So we have kindergarten paras who have been pushing into first grade when to offer some additional support so we can hone in on that small group instruction and really make sure our kids are getting what they need.
I think Spade just said on time every day is the BCSD way. And we want to see our little babies at school, and we love seeing them at school. They give the best hugs. That's the pre-K through 2 buildings. For the students who need that extra support, or the families who need the extra support, we have our attendance groups that is ran by our school counselor. And with that group, we have been able to have a 75% rate of improvement, and so we are very excited about that. We are also putting in some attendance incentives that includes pieing in the face, which Ms. Spate has graciously volunteered for. She did not want to be taped to the wall, so that's me, and I'm okay with that. And then again, Ms. Spate is the dunk in the tape. Ms. Lifford cannot swim, and I'm okay with that. In our attendance, you'll see here we have the tier 1, 2, and 3, and so we're just continuing to target our students. We want for them to be excited about coming to school, knowing that it is a safe place, it's a fun place, they have their friends, they have their teachers, we have all these fun things happening, your learning is here, and we just want them at school. And so any way we can encourage them to get to Central.
But to be clear, we are also accepting more people to be pied in the face if you would like to come on down to Central Town.
And we are also holding our students accountable for their choices. And so there are many learning opportunities as our babies are babies. And so anytime where there is just kind of like some harm that's done, or something that is kind of goes against our student code of conduct, then we have like those really good conversations that help for students to grow from their mistakes. And we have our behavior interventions, which does include detention. So having that time for them to reflect, to have a conversation, for them to kind of like pick apart with us, what are some better choices that you could have made? Why did you make the choice that you made? How can we move forward? And then we check in because we don't want for them to repeat those mistakes. Also, removal from extracurricular activities, which is mostly recess. And so again, it's that time to have that conversation with the student. We have our office resets where students can come for a break, come down to our calm down area in the office, or just kind of like check in with one of us to see, so we can see how they are doing, as well as some restorative practices that are in place, such as restorative circles, if it is needed.
I'm going to take you guys through our CCIP goals and our progress so far. So looking at this school year exclusively, we are looking from fall to winter. The fall score is at the bottom of each box. That's the way it kind of comes from our diagnostic. So in the fall, when we're talking about kindergarten, and we'll go through reading first, we had 80% of our students in the yellow, so behind where they should be, 20% on grade level when we got them. At this point, we have 53%, so as of winter, so November was our administration. 53% of our students had hit that kind of on grade level measure, with 47% of them remaining behind. So we are trying to scoop up those other 47%, obviously. Our goal is to get as many kids as we can to the green in every category. When we get to first grade, we've got our first grade friends who started off with 12% of our kiddos in the green. By winter, we had moved to 15% of them. First grade and second grade both have a red band because those are the first grades where you can officially be a grade level behind. And so when we're looking at first grade, in the fall for first grade, we had 15% of kids who are identified as substantially behind. We moved that number down, we decreased it, so now we have 9% of our kids who are behind. So for the red, you always want to see a decrease. The yellow, we're okay with an increase sometimes. So in the fall, we had 73% of our kids a little bit behind, and then by the winter, we had 76% of our kids a little bit behind. So those friends who went from red to yellow, we're taking that as a win. For second grade, you'll see similar numbers. You'll see the similar kind of progression. We have 48% of our kids who were behind in fall. By
Really
winter.
quick, sorry, we had a timer that went off, so we're gonna give y'all at least 2 more minutes.
Oh, I thought he said I
Sorry.
had 5.
Five, I'm sorry, 5, yeah, 5.
My
My
bad.
bad. Yeah, 5.
I will be
That's okay.
brief. Let me speed up. Okay. If you know me, you know that I talk fast. I tried to slow it down for y'all today. All right. So for our second grade friends, we had 48% in the red in the fall, 36% in the winter. So we had a decrease. We had an increase for yellow because those friends went from red to yellow. 37% in the fall, 47% by winter. And then our green increased by 4%. When I run you through math, I'm just going to do the math for you so we can mark the percentage that we improved. And so we have a 21% decrease for the yellow for fall to winter, which is great. And then we had a 21% increase for the green as well. When we're talking about first grade, we had a 9% increase for students in the green. We had a 5% increase for students who landed in yellow for math, and then we had a 14% decrease for students who were in red. So we moved a lot of our kids from red to yellow for math for first grade. And when we're talking about second grade, we went from a 2% to 6%, so 4% increase in green. We had a 17% increase for kids who landed in the yellow who had moved over from the red. And in the red category, we started with 59% and went to 36%, so a 23% decrease for the red. So our kids are moving the needle. When we talk about the other CCIP goal, we're talking about DESA and DECA, and that will be our social emotional learning. So how are our kids coping, and how are they dealing with conflict, things of that nature. We improved our DESA percentage by 54%. So we had 43 kids who were identified as having some needs. And then we had some referrals. For total for fall and winter, we had 73. Right now, we have 23 kids who have moved to typical, so tier 1. So they're in place. Mrs. Lippert has done a fantastic job with check-in, check-out, which you'll hear about in a few seconds. And we've been able to kind of move the needle for our kids. We're going to let you read this slide. We've done a variety of parent engagement nights. If you're interested, we've got a math night and a data night both coming up, and Donuts with Grown-Ups. We are doing what we can to get our parents in the building and just aware of their kids' data, as well as some opportunities with PTO, and then our partnership with Glendale and the high school for Career Day. Oh, we did. Check in, check out. We missed a slide. Where is it? There we go.
All right, so for school climate and culture, we do have our monthly PBIS incentives. Recent one was a mystery bag. If you've ever seen that online, kids are really into that. And just as Ms. Bates said, we have our check-in, check-out, which is my favorite because it is a tier 2 intervention, and we always see improvement with our students who are on the check-in, check-out, as well as looking forward to having some Zenimos sent over to Central for our students to do some meditation that will be helpful in getting them to transition back into class.
And last but not least, we actually have a couple of Central students in the audience today here to support someone else. But we asked a couple of our kids why they liked school and what they loved about Central, so we'll let them take it away.
Maria, and I'm in first grade. And what I love about school is that we learn. My name's Layla, and I'm in first grade, and I love Central because I like learning. Hi, my name is Jill, and I like, and I'm in first grade, and I like coming to school and making friends. My name is Skylar, and I'm in second grade, and
Skylar's really quiet, but she's running down 3 reasons why she loves Central. They were working on essay writing, so she came ready. She said that she loves hanging out with her friends at recess and at lunch and to learn. But learn was last. We're going to work on moving that up for her. So that is where we are at Central Primary School. We thank you for your time and attention tonight, and we hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Obviously, you have a lot going on, which is why you went over, but that was a lot of great data to give. No, I appreciate it. And we only had it on vibrate, we didn't have it on sound, so it's okay. But no, you had a lot of data to process and provide to us, so we appreciate that. I love the fact that you are trying to figure out who's getting it, who's not getting it, and how do you separate them to make sure that who really needs it, and you pull them to the side and say, okay, let me work with you. You're not just, everybody's not one. You can't treat every student as one student. You have to treat them as individuals, which means they learn differently. And so I appreciate the fact that you're doing that. You're taking that time to really dig and see who needs help, who got it, so maybe they can even help, you know. I love the fact that you all are doing that. And I love the redirecting when they do have an issue going on. You're like, hey, let's take this away. I know you love doing that, but let's take this away, and how can we fix it to not do that again? It starts early. You start to program it in them early, and they start to learn those redirectives early enough, they won't want to do it again. So I appreciate everything that you are doing over at Central, so thank you so much.
We appreciate that. We
And I'm
couldn't do
loving
it without the
babies.
support of Dr. Johnson and the board, to be very honest. We are trying to teach them early, so later on, we're gaining that momentum. So, yeah.
I have to concur.
Threw your whole
with,
agenda off.
I have to concur with what she stated, but to add on, I appreciate the fact of you saying normalizing mistakes. One thing with children, human behaviorally and developmentally wise, a lot of children may lie or sneak or do things differently because they're out of fear. And a lot of times and then when they make a mistake, it's more fear because it's always been, you're not supposed to do that. But to redirect it in a way where, okay, we made a mistake, how do we create a solution? That is what critical thinking is. And to impart it at such an age of then, as she said, the earlier for redirection, but the earlier to implement, to normalize those things of human actual behavior that this occurs, but to say, hey, you don't have to be fearful, you don't have to lie about anything, you don't have to do something different or try to hide it. Let's approach it head on and then find a solution, and you can figure out that solution on how we can correct it. So kudos to that.
Thank you, Mrs. Birch.
I would just like to say, commend you on that great academic report.
Thanks.
Oh, my goodness, that was awesome. And we do start early, and those kids will be ready for that testing grade, which is third grade.
That's the hope and the prayer.
So I was looking at all those numbers, like, oh my gosh, they're gonna be ready for third grade. And also, you know, just everything you do. But I did have one question. Is this a new curriculum you're using?
No, so, well, new-ish.
New-ish?
Yeah, new-ish. It was adopted last year. Yeah, so
So
it's.
it's new, is it last year?
Yeah,
Well, great job, I love the numbers.
thank you. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I don't like public speaking so much.
I may reach out to you about the pie in the face. I didn't say I would, but I might. We'll see. I might be a good. All right, thank you so much for that. And I want to say this too. So many times we go into the community and we hear community members saying, we want to hear what's going on in our schools. So I'm hoping that we have community members that are online or even in the building and hearing what our schools are doing. There's great things going on. They want to know, you know, how's your school district doing? We're our schools are providing presentations on a consistent basis. So I'm really hoping that we have a lot of community members who watch and listen and take in what is being presented, because there's a lot of great information being presented, and I thank you for that. Next on our agenda is 4.01, approval of minutes from February 20th, 2025. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mrs. Turner Birch. Do we have any questions or corrections for the minutes? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes. Thank you. Passes 5-0, board. On to consent agenda. 5.01, consent agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Well, I'm going to say motion by Mrs. Turner Birch and seconded by Mrs. Boynton. Do we have any questions on the consent agenda or any explanations? Or anything we want to talk about? You want to mention that? Okay. All righty. Can I have roll call?
Yes. Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes. Thank you, board. Passes 5-0. I am going to pass it over to Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Board President, Vice President, board members. I want to thank you for supporting the recommendations under the consent agenda for personnel. Before I recognize a couple of people, I always like, I think Mr. Walters typically does this, and ask how many individuals are graduates of Bedford City School District that are here. Could you please raise your hand? Thank you.
There we go. Look at this. Look at.
I think one of the things that we're really working hard on is to retain high-quality employees, individuals, and I feel like we do that by bringing back our alumni. So first, I would like to thank you for supporting the recommendation of Mr. Britton, if you understand, who is a graduate. Mr. Britton will be a high school counselor. I think we've talked about this for several years now. Michael was one of the first individuals that I met a couple of years in, and has always been very kind and welcoming. You've always been very engaged. So you didn't just leave, but you continuously came back to be a part of everything that's happening here in the Bedford City School District. And I think that that should be commended, and says a lot about you and your dedication to the Bedford City School District. I didn't know if there was anything that you wanted to say, and let us know who's here with you today. Oh, and you're a graduate of Kent State.
Yes.
So kudos to you. And he's subbed in our district and so forth, so thank you.
First of all, thank you to the board. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Tonight, I brought my nieces and nephews with me. I brought my sister with me as well. Want to give a shout out to Ms. Paul. She was my high school counselor. I appreciate you being here tonight. Mr. Dressman, my current supervisor at the high school. I appreciate you as well. Ms. Cole, my English teacher from Heston. But I really just want to say thank you so much. I feel like there's so much to say, but I appreciate the work that we've already done. I'm so excited to see where we can go to next year as I take on this role. I'm still currently at the high school as our school counselor intern, so I just want to thank the admin team for believing in me, trusting me, and seeing the vision. I want to thank my counseling team at the high school for pouring into me. I really, really appreciate them. And I just want to thank my students. You know, they show up every day, the best version of themselves, sometimes the worst version of themselves, but they show up every day and they allow me to guide them through academic, social, emotional, career, and I really appreciate that. So thank you. And yeah, that's it. I'll sit down now.
Thank you.
I love it. And I think having you there, being close to their age, or being a recent graduate, you're able to relate to them, so that's a good thing. Thank you. It does.
I think next, we would like to recognize another alumni of Bedford City School District who has really worked her way up. in the district, starting in the custodial maintenance department, to serving as a secretary in the maintenance department, and now is going to be the administrative assistant for the executive director of operations, Mr. Waters. So Chelsea Neely, we would like to congratulate you and your sweet little one there. I didn't know if there was anything that you would like to say. I know you aren't, I know.
That's one person's opinion, Chelsea.
There's always somebody that knows somebody.
But congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for leading the district. She's so cute.
The next individual, there's two things that you voted upon, so I would definitely recognize the first is Mr. Deshaun Washington, who will be serving as a social studies teacher at the high school. And I'll let you tell us a little bit about where you're from, coming into the district. A lot of conversations with some of your former superintendents about who he is. I will be honest that Kalisha and the team felt that he would be a great asset to the social studies department. They have some wonderful teachers in general at Bedford City Schools, at the high school. And so our social studies department says a lot, about their data and what they're doing with the students as well. But one of the things that I heard from Mr. Jolly from Warrensville was that he could teach anything. And I think that says a lot from Mr. Jolly in terms of what they're doing in Warrensville and the direction that they're heading in terms of academic achievement. So we would like to welcome you in that role. And then the second role is that he has been recommended, and you voted upon him to serve as the varsity football coach at Bedford High School. So I'll let Mr. Commander talk a little bit about that in terms of filling those big shoes.
Good evening, members of the board. I will be quick because I know I don't get the standard 8 minutes here. I just want to say a few minutes. I just would like to say a few things about Coach Washington. Number one, I'm very excited to be a part of this process and bring Coach Washington in to reiterate what Dr. Johnson spoke on. Everyone that I spoke with who had experience supervising him or in the athletic director role spoke very highly of his ability to lead our young men and his coaching staff, which I feel inevitably is going to lead to success here for our varsity football program. So I will give you a few tidbits of his history. Coach Washington previously served as the head football coach at Warrensville Heights High School from 2013 to 2018, where he took a small, struggling program and nearly quadrupled the size of the roster in less than one season. His hard work growing the roster produced a team that at one point during the 2017 season was the 4th-ranked team in the state of Ohio in Division V. Those efforts were recognized across the area as his success in turning around the program allowed him to be featured in the McAllister Scouting Report for his successful rebuild of a program. After the quick stint, well, I shouldn't say quick stint, the memorable stint at Warrensville Heights High School, he took a season away, took an assistant role at University School on their varsity football staff before jumping back into the big chair for the 2021 season at Lutheran East High School as the head coach. Once again, brought the winning culture with him, translated into a level of success that Lutheran East had not seen in football. While serving as the head coach of the Falcons from 21 through 25, just this past season, Coach Washington's Falcons, now it's Coach Washington's Bearcats, Coach Washington's Falcons posted a 9-1 regular season record, best record in school history. He led Lutheran East to the playoffs for the second time in his 4 seasons there. Along with that playoff run and that 9-1 record, that was good enough for him to be named the 2024 Northeast Lake District Coach of the Year, along with being named the Associated Press Ohio Coach of the Year for Division IV. So we're bringing a gentleman in here who has the hardware to back up exactly what he's going to do. Just to speak a little bit about his track record with our student athletes, Coach Washington has a record of successfully coaching student athletes. He's assisted in over 30 of his former players going on to play college ball at various levels in his years as a head coach. One of those is none other than Rayshawn Kennedy, who under Coach Washington was the Division V Offensive Player of the Year at Lutheran East. Even more impressive, every senior who has ever played for Coach Washington has graduated from high school. So I think that speaks volumes to the gentleman that we are bringing in here. And I mean, without further ado, let's continue and allow it to be the rise of the Bearcats.
Thank you so much. Mr. Washington, would you like to come and say anything? Introduce yourself, give a little background? Or a little, I guess, we got a lot of background, but do you want to give any additional? And congratulations, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Bedford, Ohio, Bedford City School District. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity and the trust you have placed in me to lead your young men. I know everybody here wants to win football games as much as I do, but the most important win is these kids winning in life. I've won plenty of games. I've gotten Coach of the Year, but some of the things that stand close to my heart is when I see a kid struggling in high school and completing a master's degree program later on in life. Those are the wins that I enjoy. I'll work hard, my staff will work hard to get the wins the rest of the community enjoys on Friday night. I appreciate how I was introduced with me as an educator first, because that's my responsibility. And I tell the young man, football is extracurricular for me as well. My number one goal is to make sure these young men and women in Bedford City School District are able to pass the end of course exams in social studies and be successful and become critical thinkers and lifelong learners. And I'll work just as hard. No, I won't. I'll work even harder in the classroom than I will on the field, which is very hard on the field. So I look forward to being a part of the Bearcat community and the growth and the change that's going on here in Bedford. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
Who did you bring with you today?
Who did you bring with
Who's
you?
with you?
Who did you bring with you?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, now I'm going to be in trouble because you pointed that out. But I introduced her to most, but this is my beautiful wife, Angelica Tate Washington. And I brought her with me for my support, and so she'll know where I'm at around this time of night.
We talked about that before, right?
Well, congratulations again and welcome to the school district. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I just want to say welcome and look forward to what you have to bring for in the classroom, in the hallways, as well as on the field.
That's definitely welcome. I'm glad that you stated that first is classroom and football is secondary, but I know you're going to excel in both, so I look forward to it.
I just want to say you are now a proud Bearcat.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to see what we're gonna do on Friday nights after the games are won.
Right.
But welcome to Bedford and proud to be a Bearcat.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and we welcome you. Yeah. I love the energy. You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much. Next on our report is our superintendent's report. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Johnson.
Again, good evening, Board President, Vice President, Board members. I have a couple of things for you tonight, just being sarcastic. Under 6.01, we ask of your support for resolution adopting ODEW, Special Education Model Policies. Under this policy, because it's coming from the state, it doesn't go through a first and second reading, so we bring that before you. 6.02, we bring before you the student fees. Under 6.03, we ask of your approval of the administrative personnel reduction in force. I think I've talked about this a lot in my weekly notes, but Taylor and I have really been working hard in relation to the written plan that we have submitted to the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. to ensure that we are in alignment with reducing the deficit spending. So this is just a part of that. We will continue to assess the leadership team. I believe last year we had reduction in force with our certified staff. This year, as well as I think last year, we may have minimized, but we're going to continue looking at the administrative team, and we've been talking about that. So these two are a part of that plan. Under 6.04, we ask of your approval of the overnight field trip. And if I could say, based upon 6.03, it's not like individuals will not tend to those roles and responsibilities, but we're combining those roles and responsibilities. And under 6.05, we ask of your approval of the preschool STEAM programs per the leadership of Executive Director of Academic Achievement, and I think Dr. Harrington will speak to that. Oh, Mrs. Black is here. Erin Nicole Black, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. One of you?
She got a whole government.
Right. I told her, I say that to her every day.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can't have Jamie C. Cole and not say Erin Nicole Black.
As Mrs. Black is coming up front, Board President, Mrs. Carter, Dr. Johnson, Superintendent, board members, always thank you. I have the ability to work with some wonderful people in my department who always put students first. As Mrs. Black comes to talk about this partnership, it just exemplifies her work and dedication to our preschool students and families. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to her.
Another Bedford graduate.
That's right. Proud to be a Bearcat. Class of 99.
99, thank you.
Greetings, Board, Superintendent Dr. Johnson, and Cabinet. I just wanted to talk to you about our STEAM programs. One of those STEAM programs that we'll talk about is Holden Forest and Garden. I don't know if you are, oh, okay.
Sorry, we were talking about the time.
I'm gonna use my elementary, I'll wait. So Holden Arboretums, it's Garden and Forest. I'm sure you all have heard of it before. They have a program they gave us last year for free. It was introductory, and we had a scholarship for it. So this year they're coming back, and they're still giving us a discount on it. And what they do is they bring the garden into the classroom with hands-on lessons. One of the things I love about it is that it is 2 former elementary school teachers that are teaching it, and so they know all about the little ones. Not everyone can work with our population. It's hands-on, full of music. They sing songs, they gather, they bring in nature, they build, and then it also exposes the children to wanting to go to the Holden Arboretum, so they know about it, so they get excited about doing those things outside of the school setting. The next one is it's called Studio Institute. Studio Institute was a hidden gem. I had never heard of it. It started in New York. And it does the same thing that Holden Arboretum does, except for it brings art. Their main goals are to increase self-expression, language development, cognitive and physical development, and also social-emotional skills. They would be starting off with their first project as a collage project. Now, it's 5-week sessions. What I would like to do is to have 10-week sessions with one of our classes being a 5-week session, because it is one of our self-contained classrooms. But what I loved about them is they don't shy away from that. And they work with 3-year-olds. We have not found any organization that's really willing to work with our 3-year-old populations. Holden Arboretum is like, okay, we want the 4-year-olds, and the 3-year-olds can have something to look forward to. But Studio Institute says, no, give me the 3-year-olds. And they also have a Head Start. They started in Head Start, so they know the population. And so the next 5 weeks they would do is actually woodworking and working with wood. They don't tell the kids what to do. They just expose them to the medium, and then they have them create from that, and then talk about what they're doing. And then as they begin to talk about what they're doing, they infuse that art vocabulary in. So those are 2 awesome experiences that our students can have right here in Bedford, and that many other or many other districts have taken advantage of. But I will just say that I feel like these are going to be long-term partnerships if we decide to move forward with them today.
Thank you so much.
Any questions?
I don't have any. This is great information, and the fact that you found something to include our 3-year-olds, that is amazing, starting them early, and they all feel inclusive, so I'm loving this. I will definitely be finding out when this is going on.
And our special, please come.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, and one more thing, they offer a parent component too, so they're willing to do a parent night. The teachers at Central said that they wanted to do for the graduation like an art show and walking gallery. Studio Institute is willing to help them to organize that.
Nice. I'm gonna need the
Okay.
other schools to step up.
So you all are invited. I will pass that information along so that
Thank
you can be
you.
a part of it.
Thank you so much. Central is doing the thing. Thank you. That is awesome news. Oh, yes, and Glendale, I'm sorry, yes, both of them. Do we want to take this as a whole? I keep forgetting, I'm like, but tonight I keep just hearing Central, sorry. Do we want to take these as a whole? We want to do separate? As a whole? Everybody good, or you want to do separate?
I'm good with consent.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion to accept the superintendent's report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Boynton and second by Mr. Akins that we accept the superintendent's report as presented through 6.01, resolution adopting ODEW special education model policies, 6.02 student fees, 6.03 administrative personnel reduction in force, 6.04 overnight field trip, and 6.05 of the STEM programs. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes. Thank you, board. Passes 5-0. We are now on to our treasurer's report.
Thank you, Board President, board members, Superintendent Johnson. Tonight, 7.1 is our student goal and purpose. There are 2 items on this. The one is for the Varsity B program. This program does stuff for homecoming. And then the second one, we are creating an 8th grade trip accounts. In the past, we've created class accounts that kind of followed them up. We decided that it's just easier and cleaner just to have an 8th grade trip account that they can use every year for whatever that trip may be. And then in resolutions 2025-47 all the way down to 2025-61. These are the approval of resolution to file a complaint against the valuation or assessment of a real estate parcel. I have brought Mr. Tom Cosner here tonight to answer any questions that you might have. And unfortunately, we recommend that we do these one at a time.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, can we have all right, let's go ahead with 7.01, student goal and purpose. Request for approval of revised student activity budget and purpose and goal statement for the current fiscal year. No.
Second.
It's been motioned by Mrs. Turner Birch and seconded by Mrs. Macklin. Any questions?
One question. I would like for us, I know this here is stating going to Detroit, but I would love if we could try to look back into going to DC, if at all possible. I know it's a cost issue with going to Detroit, but I know that a lot of our youth, the only chance they get to go to Washington, D.C. is during this 8th grade trip. So if there's any way we can try to get back to that, that would be great.
I thank you so much. My recommendation would be for the board to figure out a way to support all students, if that's the case, because it is very costly, and I don't feel that it's very fair. If this is a part of education, then it should be a part of education for all. And the reason why they go there is because most of the kids are able to attend. And so that would be my recommendation. Actually, DC is not I wouldn't say just directly aligned to the eighth grade curriculum, to be honest. So they're actually looking at what standards. They actually could go to the Capitol building for some of the eighth grade standards. So a lot of districts have talked about that. I know that it's a fun trip, and there's many, many things. I know even as an adult, I really benefited from everything that's there. But I feel like at some point, they do need to go to DC. I don't know if it's just eighth grade, but it'd be great, and working with Dr. Harrington and the principals, to talk about what trips fit with the standards and the curriculum.
Okay.
But I can't disagree with you that that's not a very important trip.
Thank you.
I have a question when you bring up the standards. So when they go to Detroit, they are going to the Black History Museum that's there and Greenwich.
Well, that might
Greenwich
change in general.
Village.
So.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that's where they're going, but in DC, as you stated, there's the Capitol building. There's also the Smithsonian Black History Museum is there as well. So would that also fit? And I remember when we did eighth grade, we also stopped in Philadelphia on the way, where, you know, there is history there. So on the way to DC, we stopped in Philly. I think then we went to Washington's house and the, what else, the Liberty Bell or that's there. And then we continued on to DC and where we explored the various monuments, Arlington Cemetery, the unknown soldier, the flames, you know, all of the things that still FDR, the Holocaust Museum, like that was an experience. And I do know several students that have not been able to ever go to DC because they did not go to that trip. And the grown folks,
right,
that still have never been to DC because they missed that trip or couldn't go. One thing I know when I brought it up before, I suggested that we start sooner. With having children that have gone through Heskett in the last several years and have gone on this Detroit trip, it starts late. They don't start conversing about it until December, which if it's something that we want to say we switch to DC and have that conversation, if it's about cost, let's start it in sixth grade. You can start the PTSA or have the funds there or start raising funds for sixth graders, knowing that the vision is eighth grade going on this trip. And or if we're starting, say for next year, decide to do DC, start now. Or start in August, and people can start making financial plans. Coming to a group of parents in December to talk about a trip that's gonna happen in April or May, yeah, funds may be a little odd, but if they know ahead of time and have more opportunity, and then maybe we can do fundraisers or things, or find grants or something, then I'm pretty sure the community would look in to see this is an opportunity possibly.
As I shared, I don't make those decisions. At the building level, they make the recommendations in alignment to the state standards. When I talked about Capitol, I'm talking about Ohio and what they have to cover in terms of Ohio. But I agree with you. At some point in their educational career here in Bedford, I believe it is something that they need to do. For example, if government is a requirement by the state, and that covers a lot of that in the Constitution and things of that nature. They have world history, U.S. history at the high school and so forth. I totally agree with you. And even that way, that even gives them more time to save those funds. But I can't disagree with you. But we are actually looking at that DC trip in general and what we're permitted to do, not permitted to do, because we, you know, all that's being worked out. But I totally agree with you that DC is important. I just also ask that we figure out as a district how we're going to support our students, because when we talk about like PTA, we're always hitting the same pot. Our PTA is our BB Bob. It's like the same individuals, and our parents are even struggling to feed their children. So I just want to make sure that we do. I think that's a great idea to start in advance so that we can whether it's their class fees or whatever, for them to work towards that trip. Because I do know some high schools do like a senior trip or a junior trip and so forth, would be very nice.
So I'm gonna put out there, I don't know if it's a possibility, I don't know if there's specific grants for that. Of course, I don't know what's going on with the government right now, so I can't say that will happen. But maybe that's something we can look into in order to help, because I will say, when I was in school, I couldn't go because I couldn't afford it. So, I get what's being said, so, hopefully we can, figure something out, but maybe we can, All right, roll call?
Yes. Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes. Thank you, 5-0. 7.02, real estate tax increase, appeal resolution for, is to file a complaint against the valuation or assessment of a real estate parcel. Can I have motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion, by Mrs. Macklin, second by Mrs. Boynton. Do we have any questions on this one? No? Roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes. Thank you. Passes 5-0. 7.03, approval of resolution to file a complaint against the valuation or assessment of a real estate parcel. Can I have motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned by Mr. Akins and second by Mrs. Macklin. Any questions? No? Roll call, please.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes. Passes 5-0. Thank you, board. 7.04, resolution to file a complaint against valuation or assessment of a real estate parcel.
Yes. Move. So move.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Turner Birch, second by Mrs. Macklin. Roll call, or questions? Roll call?
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you for y'all's patience. 7.04, resolution,
Six.
I'm,
Six.
oh, I'm on,
Five.
Five.
I'm on 5, I'm sorry. 7.05, real estate tax increase, motion for resolution as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mr. Akins. Roll call, please.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes, passes 5-0. 7.06 for approval of resolution to file a complaint against the valuation or assessment of a real estate parcel.
So moved.
No questions? Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mr. Akins. Roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes, motion passes 5-0.
Before this next one, I recommend that we postpone this one until the March 20th Board of Education meeting. We need to have further conversations.
Can I have a motion to 7.07?
7.
Can I have a motion to put this one on hold until our March 20th, is it 20th?
March 20th, yes.
March 20th meeting.
Motion to amend
Yes.
the agenda and move this point, 7.07 resolution to March 20th at our next meeting.
Second.
It has been motioned by Mrs. Turner Birch that we table this one until, postpone it till our next meeting, amend the agenda. It's been seconded by Mrs. Macklin. Any questions? No. Roll call?
Yes. Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes, thank you. Passes 5-0. 7.08, resolution to file a complaint against the valuation of assessment of a real estate parcel. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned by Mr. Akins, second by Mrs. Boynton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes, passes 5-0. 7.09,
So moved.
Second.
moved by Mr. Akins, second by Mrs. Boynton. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you. 7.10, real estate tax increase, appeal resolution, dash 55, I'm sorry. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Mrs. Macklin, seconded by Mrs. Turner Birch. Can I have roll call, please?
Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Ms. Boynton,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes, thank you, passes 5-0. 7.11, it's resolution 25-56. Motion?
Motion to approve resolution as it is presented.
Second.
It's been motioned by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mrs. Macklin. Huh? Do you have a question?
I did. We're on 56, right?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and go with the motion.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Ms. Boynton,
Yes.
Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes. Passes 5-0. Your question?
Can I have, so my question is, this particular spacing is not occupied
Excuse,
by who's the holders, so.
Do you want to, we'll have,
The property,
can I have you go to the microphone? I'm sorry. Thank
Yep.
you.
is it, yes. The property doesn't have to be occupied with a building or be currently occupied. What this is based on was the sale of the property, which occurred in March of 2022. It was sold for $10.4 million. And for the 2024 tax year, the county has it on the tax duplicate at only $7.3 million. So we want to move it up to the $10.4 million, which is what the property was paid for. I believe the fact that it's not occupied has some things to do with the internal issues with Kroger right now. They're restructuring their operations, but they did buy the property and they're responsible for the taxes on it.
Never moved in. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cleared the whole space and never moved in.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that explanation. We are on to 7.12, 2025-57, appeal resolution. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'm going to say motion to approve by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mrs. Macklin, since they said it in unison. Any questions on this one? Roll call, please.
Yes, Ms. Boynton, Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you. 7.13, this is resolution 25-58, 2025-58. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned by Mr. Akins and second by Mrs. Macklin. Do we have any questions about this one? No? Roll call, please.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Boynton,
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you so much. We're almost there. 7.15, resolution 2025-60. Can I have a motion?
We have 1-4, I'm sorry.
I know.
Oh,
Did I do?
we skipped 7.
Did I miss 1-4? I do apologize. 1-4 first. 2025-59. Motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mrs. Macklin. Do we have any questions on this one? Roll call, please.
Ms. Boynton,
Yes.
Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Now we're on to 7.15, resolution 2025-60. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mr. Akins. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Boynton,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much. 7.16 is Resolution 2025-61. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Excuse me, it's been motioned by Mrs. Boynton, second by Mrs. Macklin. Do we have any questions? No? Roll call, please.
Yes, Ms. Boynton,
Yes.
Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes. Thank you so much. Passes 5-0. Appreciate your patience on that one. All right, next is our 8.01, first reading of updated board policies. Do we have any questions or comments on any of these policies? I know that you all had a committee meeting, so I don't know if there's anything you want to present to the, okay.
No, I just have a question. Looking at the different policies, we don't have the policy for 167.7, use of personal communication devices. I don't see what the changes were.
Oh, you say
Yeah,
he doesn't.
on the attachments, it's not one of the attachments listed.
Yeah,
0167.7.
It would, be- oh yeah, policy 0167. Use of personal communication.
No, that's 7530 for staff.
So for,
167.7.
Yeah, so it's 35 policies, but only 34 attachments.
Oh, I saw it on there before.
Point seven.
Point
seven.
seven.
Point two
Point
is
seven
there.
is not on
Point
there. Right. All right, so we'll have to add that one. So,
We can push the whole thing if we want all of them at the
Are
same
we able
time. Push all the first read to the 20th.
so we can do that. So, motion to amend, can I have a motion?
Motion to amend the agenda to remove the first reading of the revised policies and place them on the March 20th regular board meeting.
Second.
Thank you so much. I have a motion by Mrs. Turner Birch, a second by Mrs. Boynton, that we table this first reading of updated board policies to our March 20th, 2025 board meeting. Roll call, please.
yes, Ms. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Ms. Boynton,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Ms. Macklin,
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes, thank you so much. Passes 5-0. We will see this on the next agenda. Any new information that we need to know about? I'll let you go in a minute. I will mention that we had our meeting with the members of Bedford Heights at the community center on March 1st. Myself and Mrs. Williamson was there. It was a very laid-back conversation. We had about 10 members or 10 community members there or so. Great feedback. We did have someone recommend that we talk a little bit more about Title I and those fundings, just a little bit, I guess, basic understanding of what those are, so our community members will have a better understanding of what that is, which makes sense. I mean, it's a lot of information in there, so we will definitely make sure that we work with Mr. Harrington. I know he does that presentation anyway at the beginning of the year, so we'll make sure that we do that more. Oh, perfect. We also had questions about how the district is doing, the state, how the state report card goes. I definitely want to be able to have an explanation on that also. I don't think they understand how we're getting graded as a state, so it's very important that that is also put out there. But I also, again, want to say, we have our schools come in and do a presentation on a consistent basis. So it's very important that our members, if they're interested in anything, they go back and look at previous recordings. They come to our board meetings. That's what we have them for. So we definitely want them to be involved and definitely hear the information that's being passed along. One of the other questions was, do we put out in the email that I know you spoke about last meeting, Dr. Johnson, how we have the list of emails of those who don't have students in the community, if that email list can also get just a reminder that we're having community engagements. So we'll make sure that gets out. We had someone there that did speak how they felt about the new schools. Everybody has their opinion. They're able to speak their mind. That's what we want from our community members. They had specific questions, such as how did we come up with the amount of what it would cost to renovate to what it costs to rebuild. So I do have Mr. Ellsworth on that to give him a call. If you could have that conversation, I know you're really good with that, so you'll be able to explain that much better than I could ever. So that was, I mean, I definitely think that is we should continue to do this. It's a great way to engage with our community members. We even had someone who wasn't a community member come in because they are invested in our community. So they were really interested in coming in and learning more about what we're doing. Did you want to add anything, Mrs. Boynton?
I just wanted to add that we want to make sure that we keep the community involved on the fair school funding and any upcoming meetings or, and I think Dr. Johnson, I think you just sent something out. And because I know there are a couple of meetings coming up with, I'm trying to think of his name, Brewer, and also, I know Juanita Brent was speaking on, if we are informed of those meetings, and we were sharing actually with the community members that to gain more information about how Bedford City School District will be impacted by some of these major changes that are coming down the pike, then they should listen in too, just to hear what's going on. So when we speak of that, they at least have some kind of understanding of what we're talking about. So if those could also be included in the communications that are going out via email, that'd be great. But those are always good meetings to hear what people are thinking and also to eliminate some of the false information that's out there. There's a lot of, and I'm just gonna say a lot of lies out there. So being able to present the facts, because people are not coming here to listen, some people are not even listening online. We do not want those community engagement meetings to replace our board meetings because people are always welcome, and I think they should be here. And I think they, if not, at least listen online. So that will not be replacing that, and some people are even saying those are board meetings. They are not, the community engagement. So we can hear from the communities, but we would love to have you here so you can hear great presentations like you heard tonight about individual schools and what they're doing, and to eliminate, like I said, some of the untruths that are out there. Some people actually feed off that, and it's just pretty sad, especially when we're here and so transparent. Thank you.
So really, I just want to update more on the state legislature. I did attend, go to the State House last week on Tuesday, and I sat in on the committee meeting for education. And I will say we need more districts that represent a higher diversity population present at these meetings or sending in testimony. Last week they were hearing on budget, House Bill 96, which is the budget and the funding portion of education. There were several individuals who were there to testify to say, hey, please fully fund this bill. I will say that without fully funding, which is House Bill 96, if they do not push it to fully fill, as well as the whole idea is also using the inputs, the correct inputs for 24, because they're still trying to stay on the inputs of 2020. So if they're trying to decide what money gets put in from 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, that it doesn't constitute for inflation and the cost of everything that it's going to take in our schools. So call, you can write. They were just in committee again yesterday on House Bill 96, so this hasn't passed. I don't know if they're going to have any more hearings before they take it to the floor to vote. But don't just contact education. I would say also contact those on the finance committee too, because they're looking at everything, but they're also looking at education in the finance committees meetings as well. And one thing that I would say, community-wise, if there's already an issue with funding schools by property taxes, because it is the Ohio State Constitution, it is, according to the law, illegal. However, this is how the state legislature has been legislating to ensure that property taxes is how things are going to be voted for. So if they do not fulfill, many districts will lose out on money, such as CMSD, Cleveland Heights, Shaker, Bedford, Garfield. We will lose money and essentially could bankrupt each and every one of these districts, looking down at least another 4 to 5 years. Some districts, not us, would be a lot sooner. That is going to force school districts to make levies. They may not want to do levies, but if it is not funded and they do not have the funds, it's going to push everyone to levies and or rifting more teachers and educators out of the district, making buildings go down, which fortunately that wouldn't necessarily affect us because we are already going down in size as far as how many buildings we have. But when you're looking at a district like Cleveland, where they have community schools or neighborhood schools, they can lose whole buildings in that area, and now they end up having a transportation issue and maybe funding for transportation, because how do those children have access to schools? And if we completely bankrupt school districts, which is how this could eventually look, then where do children go? And especially more importantly, children who have high needs, are special ed, whether it's intellectually disabled, physically disabled, and or behaviorally disabilities. There's a myriad of disabilities and ways that we support children based on how they learn in a school district. They can't be forced to go to non-public because a lot of times those schools do not pay for the resources necessary needed, nor do they even have to accept your child if they are on an IEP or 504 plan. So when you say it's a trickle-down effect, it will be a trickle-down effect. And many children who get services will eventually at some point not receive services due to not having the funds to support them. One question I will say, when I heard the director of ODEW who was there, whoever the finance person, I can't think of his name, was also with him. So when they asked money questions, this gentleman responded. But let me just drop one question that was said by one of our representatives, not from our district, but one of our representatives in the state, because it is bipartisan, asked the question, is it cheaper or inexpensive or less cost to fund a child to go to a non-public versus a public school? And that was an immediate thought. I text Taylor, like, hey, I need this answer, because there was other districts that was able to answer, and he kind of threw out districts in other areas. But I said, I want to know this number. The average cost that he threw out roughly for a non-public is $11,000, is what he said. And that most districts, public school districts, of course, charge is more. So I asked Taylor what that was, and it's over $26,000 for a cost for a child to pay for a child in a public school. At least in our district, it's $26,000. Some districts is a little more. Some districts are a little less, but they will be over $11,000. Why? Because most times they're paying for wraparound supports. They're paying for those resources and things that children need to learn, in which non-public schools do not necessarily need. Right. So when I say that we need to contact, we need to be contacting. Our teachers contact, our bus Reach out, call,
Yes.
leave voicemails, whatever you need to do, because it's imperative. And you can just be simple. We do not want higher property taxes and fully fund the bill.
Can I piggyback
You
off of
can
you
say,
really quick?
you can say those two things. So that's what I really wanted to just hone in this time. I won't take up too much more time on legislation. There has been some things that were introduced. However, I don't want to get into all of the ones that have been introduced, but one I do want to state is that last time I spoke about introduction of something new, and this would affect us and other school boards, is that Senate Bill 107 was introduced 2 weeks ago. And that is to ensure that that boards of education have to have a designation of your partisan party. Now, as of yesterday,
Yeah.
the House now has introduced the same thing. And it is to require state and school board members to be nominated, this time also adding in not just appear, but nominated by primary election and to appear on the ballot with a party designation. So now school boards do not go to primary, they do not primary, they go straight to the general. But now the House has changed with the Senate bill. The Senate bill was just the party designation. The House bill is including that it now be a primary and a party designation. So you have to pay attention to what's really going on. Please go on to legislature.ohio.gov. That's their website. Look under the committees, look under the legislation. Pay attention to these bills that they're busy. They are busy. They introduced like 10 bills yesterday in the House. And then there were some others that were introduced on Tuesday as well. So the House is moving, and whatever is done in the House affects us here. So I'll get off that.
And you can watch these live. The website is ohiochannel.org. You can watch all of these proceedings live. But I went to 2 meetings. I went to ESC, and I also went to a meeting through OSBA. Both of them have stated every time they talk to a representative, they want to hear from everybody. You don't have to give them a whole long essay. They want maybe 3 to 5 bullet points of what it is that you're feeling, what you don't agree with, and send it in. There are some representatives that say they want a handwritten. There's others that say we want, a letter, but they don't want to see the same full letter going out that looks exactly the same, because all they're going to do is put those to a side because they already know what they all say. Please make sure you are expressing yourself. This is definitely going to, they're in the process of right now trying to get rid of the Department of Education. So we have to express ourselves.
It's this week.
Yeah, it's definitely this week. And so we have to make sure that we are expressing ourselves, whether you have children or not. It's affecting you in some kind of way. So definitely make sure. And again, they are waiting to hear from everybody, teachers, people in the community, everybody,
Children.
grandparents, children. Yes, have your children handwrite a letter. But I'm off my soapbox too.
That's a fact. And in some school districts, if we're not representing school districts like ours, that looks like ours, that are diverse like ours, they're looking like we don't care. They don't care. And that's not true. We do. So it's not, you don't have to go to the House, but I'm gonna tell you, they're in committee on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and in session on Wednesdays. So if you can make it to Columbus, at some point, to sit in, give testimony, and listen how those hearings are worked out and what they're saying, what our representatives saying, and the questions that they were asking. I was paying attention to how they asked their questions too. So it's even just good, like you said, you can watch it, but go down if you need to, because it's good, they can see the faces.
Great information, I appreciate that. And I know we're putting together, I know we used to do last year we did the Q&As with Dr. J, but I'll be working with Gary, I think to do a podcast. We talked about that, so we might have you on there to kind of talk about that. But BEA will also be going down, I think 10 teachers, Trish. Are you guys going to testify, or did you fill out the forms?
With our legislators on March 19th. OEA is taking us over, and we're making appointments with our legislators and getting our questions written up and ready to go.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful.
For sure. And once again, education is bipartisan. However, everything done in the House is partisan, but you still have to serve in a bipartisan way. So it doesn't matter if you're an R, a D, an I, or no party. It's still gonna affect you either way. So contact all of the representatives. Don't just contact the Democrats because you're a Democrat. Don't just call the Republicans because you're a Republican. Please call both sides of the aisle because they both have to be able to vote wholly on it when it actually hit the floor, the House floor.
And we
So-
do have Representative Robinson.
Yes, we have State
coming.
Rep Phil Robinson will be coming on March 20th. I'm still waiting on Rep Darnell Brewer to see if he'll be able to tag team and come as well. Because one thing that's unique about our district is that we are split through the gerrymandering, that we have two separate representatives depending on the community that you live in. So I've stated it before, but I'll restate. Darnell Brewer is District 22. He is over Bedford and Bedford Heights. And then State Rep Phil Robinson is District 19 over Oakwood and Walton Hills. So we have two representatives.
Crazy.
And then we also need to be reaching out to our state senate, which is Jerry Serino, who he has sponsored a lot of the DEI, a lot of the education stuff that is taking things away, diversity, equity, and inclusion, at the secondary level, which once again will be trickling down because they just introduced more legislation to second and primary. So he is District 18 in the Senate District. Please reach out to him because he serves us. And he's a dual county gerrymandering. Dual county. He serves Lake County, a portion of Lake County, and as well as a portion of Cuyahoga County is where that district map cuts. So just letting you all know those things.
And I can't stress enough because we had to entertain so many questions about funding and taxes at our community engagement meeting. And the community really do need to know that if this funding is cut, that it is going to impact every property owner because of property owners pay for schools. And so we're not getting that state and federal funding that we know we definitely need. And it's going to come back on us. And everybody. This is going to affect everybody, impact everyone. So I can't stress that enough as we were trying to share that on Saturday with the people that everything, I said, it's not at this level where we are. And some people were having a difficult time understanding that. So again, we just need to say, this is going to impact you if it impacts the Bedford City School District, and it will impact you directly. One thing I would like to say though, those representatives and that contact information need to also be printed when we send out these things in our email so people know who to reach out to, and because that's important. People don't know who to reach out to and they don't know what to say. Really simple. I don't want it. Stop it. Stop the foolishness. And so if we know those contact people, so I appreciate you bringing us those folks, and if we could get it out to our community and to our educators, people need to know, it could be your job.
All righty.
Thank you.
I thank everybody. We do have executive session 9.01, so if I can have a motion.
Motion to consider the appointment, employment, motion to enter into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee.
It has been motioned by Mrs. Turner Birch and second by Mrs. Boynton. Can I have a roll call?
Yes, Ms. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Ms. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Carter?
Yes, thank you. We will not be voting on anything after we come out of executive session.